Good evening. I appreciate your patience with me as I'm losing my voice. I've got something, laryngitis. Is this working? Can you hear me? I appreciate your patience. I'm losing my voice. My wife, I'm sure, appreciates that. Anyway, we're going to start our meeting at the moment. So I call this meeting the Magnolia Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. So if everybody please stand. Christy Baker is going to lead us in our invocation.
It's a tradition on our board to open our meetings with prayer. If you'd like to join me in prayer, please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you during this season of celebration and joy and ask, Lord, that you bless the meeting this evening, that you keep everyone's minds clear and hearts pure, that you please grace us with the ability to make decisions that would keep us in line with your will. We thank you, Lord, for this half of the school year that has gone well, and for all of the accomplishments of the students that we work so hard to serve. We ask that you continue to guide us and that you continue to bless this district and all of the people contained in it. In Jesus Christ's holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So Joe and Hannah, where's Hannah? Here she is. If they would come up here and lead us in our pledges. Joe, you can lead us in the American one, and you can lead us in our Texas pledge. So we'll do the U.S. first.
Yes, sir. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much. Hannah, if you would, come on up.
It is such a privilege to be here tonight. I want to say thank you so much to the board for just the opportunity to recognize our students, and we are recognizing a fine one tonight from Bear Branch Elementary School, and that is Miss Hannah Brosey. As she is here tonight, she is accompanied by her parents, Patrick and Misty Brosey, if you guys will stand up, and her brother Jake. So thank you so much for being here tonight. English teacher is also here, Miss Renfro, if you would just stand up. Thank you so much. Hannah is a 5th grader at Bear Branch Elementary School, and she is a fine one at that. She is a member of the National Elementary Honor Society, which requires a certain grade level in order to be a great GPA in order to get into that distinguished service-oriented organization. She's also a member of Project Bob, and that stands for Project Becoming Our Best. And it is a new club that we have on our campus this year, and what it involves is it involves running. By the end of the year, all the students who participate in that will have run a marathon, and it involves service. And so Hannah has already, she and her family have already done some volunteering at SOS together. So I'm just very grateful for the way that she has such a servant's heart. She's also a part of UIL Ready Writing and Spelling and participates in choir and Project Reach. So in school, she is a very, very busy girl. She was one of 2 students who gave the speech at the Veterans Day program. Her speech was selected for the compassion and the care and the kindness that she put into it for our veterans, and she was able to share her heart with them on our Veterans Day, and we were very proud to have her representing Bear Branch Elementary School. I asked Hannah what she likes most about school, and she likes math and writing, and her favorite thing to do is write stories. And so I think that's probably, she's a little partial to English and to her English teacher. So when Hannah is not in school, she takes piano lessons, she participates in a volleyball league. Her hobbies include crafts and sewing. She enjoys spending time with her family, camping, playing outside, and hanging out with friends. So this is one busy girl right here making a difference in the world. Currently, Hannah plans on attending Texas A&M. And here's the thing about Hannah.
Getting into.
When I asked Hannah initially, I said, do you know what you might want to do, when you become, when you get older? And she said, well, maybe I want to be a teacher. And she said, and I said, really? I said, like an elementary school teacher? And you know what she said? She said middle school. And so I was like, wow, that is awesome, because that's not always the response you get. Now, by the time she had gotten home, she was rethinking that a little bit and had decided there were maybe some other opportunities that she would like to explore. But let me just tell you, Hannah, if you became a teacher, we would welcome that, because you are the kind of teacher that this world needs. So Mr. Hawkins, her math teacher, had this to say about her. Hannah Brosey is an exceptional student who demonstrates her commitment to excellence daily. Hannah shows maturity beyond her years, is kind and quick to help others, genuinely cares about learning. She consistently sets a fine example in my classroom and is very deserving of this recognition. Ms. Renfro, her ELA teacher, said, I am beyond thrilled that Hannah Brosey was selected as the Student of the Month. She is every teacher's dream student. She's dedicated, always helpful to others, and has a heart of gold. She strives to do her very best in everything she does and is always willing to help her classmates. Couldn't we use more of that in the world? Hannah is well liked by others and treats them with fairness and understanding. She gives back to her community by volunteering through Project Bob and shows up early every Monday morning to run laps to stay physically fit. She is working to complete that marathon by the end of the year. I'm so proud of Hannah and thankful that I get to be her teacher. Hannah was chosen as the Bear Branch Elementary Student of the Month for the district because she exemplifies what a true leader is all about. She is kind, she is generous, she is responsible, and she puts others above herself. And that, to me, that is what it means to truly be a leader. And that is what you are, Hannah Brosey, and we are very proud of you.
Dr. Metz, you're next, Eileen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Come on up, Joe. Yes, sir. Hey, let's give another hand for Miss Ray and Hannah. Really good. I just wanted to say, preach, girl. Come on. She was bringing the pain on that. I think I would have been in the National Honor Society for Elementary School Students if that was my principal. Well, good evening, Mr. Blizzard, Dr. Stevens, distinguished board members. I have the pleasure of introducing all of you tonight to senior high school student Joe David Medina II. Joe is here with his mom and dad. Go ahead, mom, dad, on stand, if you would, please. And his brother, I almost said baby brother, his brother, Jacob, who's a sophomore at Magnolia High School, and his sister, Mia. Go ahead and wave, everybody. Mia. We've got some staff members here at Magnolia High School. Just kind of give us a wave. I know Commander Bedell is here. There we go. That are here to kind of support Joe as a student of the month. So, couple things about Joe. He has been in Magnolia since 2012. He comes from a family with a strong military legacy. His grandfather, father, and he's got 7 aunts and uncles that have served or are serving in the United States Marine Corps and Navy, and include non-commissioned as well as commissioned officers and 3 Naval Academy graduates. So pretty impressive young man here already. Comes from a long line of folks that are committed to service of our country. One of the things that I want to talk about Joe about, beyond all of his accolades and the things that he's involved in, is his character. There's a lot of things to be said about someone's character. Some of us might think of character. Some of our high school kids say, well, character is if you see a wallet on the ground in the parking lot, you pick it up and you go turn it in. And that's character. Some of our young men say, hey, character is maybe open the door for a date when they take a young lady out on a date. Maybe that's character, or maybe it's just doing the right thing when no one's watching. I've been exposed to a lot of, or had the experience to spend a lot of time with high school kids, and Joe has demonstrated so much character. And a lot of that character is not just when things are going well, but in response to adversity. And that's, to me, that shows a lot of character. I was talking to his dad earlier, and he said, it's easy to be a Dallas Cowboys fan when they're winning, right? Did they win, Dylan?
Yes.
They did. Anyway, way to go, guys. But Joe last year, Joe and I kind of walked through a situation in which he had actually missed a deadline, and a decision was made that didn't necessarily go in his favor. Joe demonstrated so much character in contacting me, in sitting down and having a conversation with me face to face. He took some time to prepare. He took some time to put things together and kind of talk about why he made that oversight of missing that date. Joe sitting down with me face to face, man to man, was such an incredible demonstration of character. He showed more character in that moment than he would ever have shown had he been winning a valedictorian, or being awarded a valedictorian or winning an award at our school. And I tell you what, and I've already told you this before, Joe, but it was through that moment that I just had so much respect for this young man to go and sit in the principal's office and sit down and have a conversation. And even after the fact, right? Like, even after the fact, the situation, the answer still was it didn't go in his favor. And it would have been really easy of Joe to put something out on social media, which is why I'm so happy they're high school kids here. It's really easy to press a button and put some on social media and say, the principal's a jerk or something like that. It's really easy to walk around campus and kick rocks and say, things didn't go my way. But to me, it's a demonstration of that character when things don't go your way, because I promise you, and us adults all out here know it, things aren't going to go your way at some point. But it's your response to that adversity that really shows the true character of an individual. So with that said, I want to brag a little bit about Joe and what he's done here at Magnolia High School, some of the things that he's accomplished, and kind of tell you where he's headed. So Joe has taken pre-AP, AP, and IB courses. Miss Walter, his pre-AP English 1 teacher and his AP English teacher, said he is self-motivated, dedicated, and lends a helping hand to everyone. I'm confident Joe will make an impact, and I'm excited to see his next journey. Joe, as you can probably tell, he's a member of the MHS Naval JRTC unit since his freshman year. He's currently serving as the battalion's administrative officer and is a member of the unit's academic, color guard, PT, which is physical training, and Raider teams. Joe received an outstanding freshman cadet, and he also received the National Sojourners Award, which recognizes a cadet who contributes the most to encouragement and demonstration of patriotism within the unit and on campus. Joe is also in the MHS Men's Choir and Chorale program. He represented Magnolia High School last year, I think it was during spring break, where they performed at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. Joe is also a member of the district student leadership program, the MHS Principals Leadership Group, and serves as a team leader for his church's confirmation program. This past summer, listen to this guy's summer, by the way. This guy's summer, it's insane. Anyway, so this summer, he represented Magnolia High School at Boise State. He attended a summer seminar at the United States Naval Academy, and he also traveled to North Carolina to attend an engineering program sponsored by the Society of American Military Engineers. Oh, and by the way, he worked a full-time job at the golf course as part of the maintenance crew. So, busy guy right here. So, it's my privilege to announce that Joe is currently a candidate for appointment at the United States Naval Academy, Air Force Academy, and West Point, and has also been accepted to the Citadel, Virginia Military Institute, Norwich University, Texas A&M Texarkana, and Mary Hardin-Baylor. Upon graduation, Joe plans to study chemical engineering and further explore the field of cyber ops and intelligence. Once again, I am honored to present Joe David Medina II as an MHS December Student of the Month. Let's all give him a hand.
We're not done yet. We're not done. Hannah, you want to come up here? Joe, here's your congratulations. Hannah, here's yours. We got a future Aggie here, and we got a heck of a singer. I tried to get him to sing the pledge, but that didn't work so good. Anyway, Devon's going to give you guys something.
Hi everyone, my name is Jackie. I'm with Devon Urgent Care. We have $50 gift cards for the student of the month. Every month we do this just to tell them thank you for being so great. So if you're in school, try and win it.
Thank you. Give these guys another round. Fun part of the evening.
That was a fun part of it.
Yeah.
tell you what, if Hannah would like to, I mean, I'll give her a contract right now if she wants to become a middle school teacher. So we can get it back.
Well, you know, we
Come
gotta-
find us right now.
We gotta recruit them early.
I know. And we'll get our best and brightest.
That's right. I think you're up next.
Oh, was it me already? My goodness gracious. Well, it really is a privilege tonight to be able to present an award that's really fairly new. And a few years back, I had a conversation with the board. I don't know what we were doing. We were riding in a bus going somewhere, I think to tour some elementary camps there. And we got talking about we needed an award to highlight and recognize people in our community who work to further the goals of the vision of this district to become the best district in the state of Texas, and helped us to accomplish that by their actions as a citizen of this community. And it needed to be something that was kind of long-term. I mean, they needed to be actively involved for a number of years. And it really wasn't necessarily those folks that were drawing a paycheck. They may have a lot of passion for this district, but, and they didn't necessarily have to be a person at the time that was an elected official to sit up here and serve, because that's sort of part of their gig to do that. But these are these people who just serve because they have a passion and a love for education, and they feel that there's something special in our community, in our school district here, and they want to see it further. So we created what we called the Visionary Award. And the first recipient of that was a person near and dear to my heart, and that's Mr. Tony Gullo Sr. And those of you who've been in this community very long know that Gullos have been very active with our school district. They had several children who really are my age. In fact, I even went to school at Abilene Christian with a couple of the Gullo boys. And they just done so much to continue seeing this district grow. And so tonight, it's my opportunity to present the second Visionary Award on behalf of this board for a person who has labored for years and years to see this district grow, to become the best district in the state of Texas, to make sure we have the best and the brightest teachers here to have an opportunity to work with our kids. And for 13-something years, Glenn Addison served this community as a trustee. And I had fortune to come here in 1999, and Glenn had just been on the board, I guess for about 2 years, maybe prior to that, Glenn. And so Glenn was sort of the part of the first board that helped us sort of get some of the things started within this district, and help us provide some of the ideas with Mike Holland, the superintendent at that time, about where we were going to go. How are we going to take this district with about a little less than 5,000 students at that time? But we were rapidly growing, and figure out a way how we could build a world-class education system here in this community. And Glenn was instrumental in all those decisions we had to make through those years as a trustee. And I'll tell you, Glenn was the guy who could ask the tough questions of a board and of an administration, and it would test our mettle about the decisions that we were going to make. Was it in the best interest of this district? Was it the best interest for our children? Was it in the best interest for those that were going to present it? And was it going to protect and take care of our taxpayers who were footing the bill for that? And we were going to make sure we got the maximum amount of gain we could out of every dollar we were going to spend in this district. And Glenn saw that as, he truly was a trustee in that sense. And I want to thank him from the bottom of my heart for the work he performed as a trustee. But as I kind of went and said, that's not really completely what this is. It's not a trustee award. Once Glenn left the board, Glenn just didn't sort of fade off into the community, and I don't want to say that in a critical way, because we have many great trustees that I'm still close to, but we just don't let their children have left. Glenn raised up two children in this district, Nikki and Wade, but those kids have since moved on and now are adults, and I think successfully performing adults is a part of some of the things they received in this district here. And so a lot of trustees move on past that part of life, and they're just not really engaged in it. But Glenn Addison has regularly stayed involved in wanting to find out about the health of this district and how we're proceeding, how are we working toward that vision. And it's just on a regular basis, I get calls, usually fairly early in the morning, because he realizes I'm up at that time, but with a question about, where are we going, God? Well, let me ask you a question about this. And a lot of times they're deep probing questions, because he has a real concern about the district. And beyond that, Glenn and Lori both have adopted several programs within this district to be financial sort of backers of, because they care for kids and making sure kids have opportunities to succeed. So one of the things that Glenn has championed has been our science fair and project. He regularly provides awards for our science fair winners up here, and they get mini iPads and other things if they're one of the winners in the district, because we wanted to make sure those kids realize that their work, quality academic work, was supported and endorsed by our community. And Glenn has been an advocate for that and stood up for that and said, I'm gonna put dollars behind that because I believe in it. And beyond that, Glenn has often said, I know there are kiddos that are out there in our district that we're not always able to provide for and the resources. And I know a lot of times that our counselors, our principals run across those situations, and they just don't know how they can scratch where there's an itch for some of those kids. And Glenn has always stood and said, I want to be the guy that can help out. And I will provide the funding for it. You just make sure that money gets spent to take care of our kids. And I just can't thank him enough for the fact he has this passion and this love for this district and for all the things he has done beyond being a trustee, beyond just being a parent. It's because now, and Glenn, this is his home. I mean, he grew up here and went to school here, but it certainly is worthy of us to say we have a person who's setting a visionary standard by the actions that he's displayed. So, Glenn, tonight it's my pleasure to award you, Lori, to come up here because you have to put up with him all the time, Lori. The second Visionary Award presented by the Magnolia ISD Board of Trustees, and it goes to Mr. Glenn Addison. I'm not gonna let you out of here without saying something.
Well, the Lord has been so gracious to us. And we read in His Word that He says that He expects more as He blesses you more. And so we're honored to try to be a blessing to our community. And we appreciate you have been real.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Glenn. One of our biggest challenges is trying to fill the shoes you left behind. We're gonna now move on to the business. You got anything else on this side? We're gonna move on to the business side of the meeting, but before we do that, we're gonna have a 5-minute break for anybody that wants to slip on out, but you're welcome to join us for the second part of the meeting if you like. So, come back in 5. Just be quiet all of them. Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Hinkleman, do we have anybody signed up to speak?
Yes, sir, I gave you those forms, there's 4 people.
Okay, all right, perfect. Okay, I'm required to read this about those that are going to speak. Participants must have turned in a request form and must have followed administrative channels before addressing the board. Participation is limited to 5 minutes. Any complaint or charge brought against an employee by name opposition must be addressed through the proper administrative channels and will not be addressed directly through this agenda item. Please note that the Board of Trustees shall not deliberate, respond, or make decisions regarding any subject that is not included on the agenda that is posted. So, we've got some folks that are assigned to speak. The first one is Olivia Carl.
Okay, well, my name's Olivia Carl, and I'm a senior at Magnolia High School this year. I've been part of the volleyball program all 4 years of high school, and I may have only been a manager these past 2 years, but I can say without a doubt that this has been the first year I truly felt a part of the team. Coach Ferris is incredibly inclusive and genuinely cares about everyone's well-being. She doesn't choose favorites, and she treats people equally. She doesn't hesitate to reward people who deserve it, but also points out when someone needs to work on something as a coach should. We were introduced to Coach Ferris in the end of last year when she started off-season with the girls. Outside of practice, I was a witness to people complaining about the intense workouts, but I knew without a doubt that these workouts would make each of them so much stronger. Instead of seeing it the way I did, the 4 girls who quit were quick to judge Coach Ferris and labeled her as mean because she was motivated and pushed her kids to the best of their abilities. Once the volleyball season started, the players who did not want to be there made it obvious, showing attitude on the court and not giving their all like their teammates deserved. Coach Ferris could clearly see this happening and spoke about it on multiple occasions with the entire team, saying the team needed to work on their attitudes and commitment as a whole, never calling out the specific players. Even as the situation progressed, she continued to treat all the girls as equals, appreciating each and every one of them. Despite losing 4 players, Coach Ferris, Coach Brown, and the girls made the best out of the season, building relationships on and off the court. Coach Ferris is a great role model for the students and athletes at Magnolia with her motivation and genuine love for sports. It saddens me to see that she has to go through this in order to further someone else's personal gain. Coach Ferris has done nothing but make it clear as to who is in it for the love of the game and who is in it for the wrong reasons. Overall, I don't have a single doubt that Coach Ferris deserves to keep her position as head volleyball coach at Magnolia High School, and I just want to thank you for being the best coach I've ever had.
Thank you. Okay, Melissa Hubble is next.
What we doing here?
Sure, wherever you there or there, your choice.
Good evening. I'm used to attending board meetings to watch my girls be honored by something that they have accomplished. Unfortunately, tonight is not the case. Speaking in front of people is not my thing either. But like I try to teach my kids, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do because it's the right thing to do. Tonight, the right thing to do is stand up and support Coach Ferris. My name is Melissa Hubble, and I'm here to represent my family. My husband, Dwayne, our 4 children. Sarah is in her 2nd year at A&M and played varsity soccer all 4 years at Magnolia High School. We have 2 twin boys who are in 6th grade at Bear Branch 6th grade. Our Emily is a senior and has been a part of Coach Ferris's program this past year. Emily was fortunate enough to be on varsity all 4 years of high school. Unfortunately, that means she has had 3 coaches. She started with Coach Jay her freshman year and was coached by Coach Madison her sophomore and junior year. We were disappointed when it was announced that Coach Madison would be leaving and Emily would have her 3rd coach. However, when it was announced that the new coach would be Coach Ferris, we were excited. Emily had played club volleyball with several girls from Willis, where Coach Ferris previously coached, and they all loved and talked about what a great coach she was. Coach Ferris did not disappoint. Coach Ferris coaches with passion, integrity, and consistency. It is evident she wants what is best for her team, and we have found her to be an excellent leader and to be a very positive coach. All 4 of our children participate in sports activities and have their whole life. We have played junior high sports, high school sports, recreational sports, and club sports. We have witnessed all different types of coaches during our roughly 15 years of sports as parents. We have seen inadequate coaches, coaches who use inappropriate coaching techniques, abusive coaches, and coaches who coach with negativity and fear. but we have also witnessed caring, fair, tough, positive coaches. Coach Ferris is the latter. She is compassionate, caring, positive coach and wants what is best for her team. She inspires and empowers these girls to be the best they can be. She teaches them accountability and respect. She insists on team bonding activities such as team dinners, team workouts, volunteering as a team during Hurricane Harvey, and even pep rally lip sync contest. Does she expect a lot from her girls? Absolutely. But what good coach doesn't? In preparing for tonight, I came across a quote. If your coach pushes you, if your coach disciplines you, if your coach demands the best from you all the time, then he or she truly cares. Coach Ferris cares. When our team played Willis this year, both times during playoff introductions, Coach Ferris's past players did not shake Coach Ferris's hand. They hugged her neck. I witnessed many Willis parents doing the same. I believe Coach Ferris is loved by her players. I believe Coach Ferris thought and still does that her job at Magnolia High School is a dream job. We have an outstanding district, high school, and volleyball program. Everything Coach Ferris has done since arriving on campus was to continue the tradition of outstanding volleyball. I have sat through several meetings with Coach Ferris, and I'm confident she has our daughters and this volleyball program's best interest in mind with all that she does. I firmly believe that a few decided not to buy into Coach Ferris's program before she even stepped foot on campus and never gave her a chance. I find this sad. These families have missed out on getting to know a fabulous mother, wife, daughter, coach, and friend. I have been inspired by her will, her determination, and grace, even though she has been treated with disrespect and negativity. In closing, obviously this is not the senior year Emily or our family had planned as far as volleyball, but we are firm believers and everything happens for a reason. This season has taught Emily to persevere, stand up for what she believes in, and never give up. The Hubble family firmly stands behind Coach Ferris. She coaches with great passion, is a great leader, and a positive influence on the girls' volleyball program at Magnolia High School. Magnolia ISD is lucky to have her.
Thank you. The next one is Emily Hubble.
Hi, I'm Emily Hubble. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a senior at Magnolia High School. I'm a four-year varsity player at Magnolia High School, and I've been playing competitive volleyball since I was in 6th grade. Needless to say, I've had a lot of coaches throughout my career. Coach Ferris was my coach this year, but unfortunately, I've had 3 different head volleyball coaches while at Magnolia. I think it's the player's job to adapt to coaches and their coaching styles. That is one of the many lessons that sports teach us. They teach us that we're going to have someone put in charge of our lives, whether it's a boss, a parent, or anything, and usually we're not able to choose who that person is. But quitting is never an option. Being able to adapt to change is part of sports and it's part of life. I consider myself extremely lucky to have been able to play 1 year for Coach Ferris. Coach Ferris is a fair coach. She pushed us to be our best. She expected us to have discipline. She enforced our good work ethic. From our best players to our worst players, she treated us fair and wanted each of us to get better. She did nothing less than what I could ever want from a varsity level coach. This year, Coach Ferris met all my expectations. Coach Ferris wanted our team to be united. She wanted us to spend time together, eat together, and grow together. She pushed us in practice, but never took the fun out of the game. Before the season started, I knew that we would have to buy in quickly to whatever changes Coach Ferris was going to make. It is tough having a new coach come in, but because of my experience with new coaches, I knew that the first few tournaments together were important for us to be successful the rest of the year. Unfortunately, not everybody bought in to Coach Ferris and her changes. These changes being a different defense, tougher workouts, and a mindset that included having a strong work ethic and being disciplined. Because we didn't all buy in, our team began to drift. She addressed this over and over again, begging those who hadn't bought in to buy in. Coach Ferris expected things of us. She expected us to be on time. She expected us to work hard. She expected us to set an example for the other teams. And she expected us to want to be there. None of these expectations seem unreasonable to me. Like I said, I feel extremely lucky to have been able to play for Coach Ferris for 1 year. She has quickly become important in my life. Almost every day I come down to the office during lunch and work out with her and Coach Aber, or just hang out with her for a bit. It is sad to me to see her have to go through all of this when I knew she just wants what's best for Magnolia volleyball program and every individual player.
Thank you. And the last one that's going to speak tonight is Graham Lynch.
Hello, my name is Graham Lynch. My wife, Honey Lynch, is here with me tonight. We're the parents of Faith Lynch. She's a freshman at Magnolia High School and played on the varsity volleyball team this year under Coach Ferris. My wife and I moved up to the Magnolia area about 10 years ago. Magnolia is a community that very similar to which I grew up in, down in South Texas at a little small cow town called Calallen outside of Corpus Christi. Also maroon and white. I see lots of similarities, which is why we chose to move up here. I want to commend the athletic director for seeking out and hiring Coach Ferris. It's easy to sit up here and talk about Coach Ferris because, as my wife said, do you have a good speech? I says it's easy because I'm talking about a great person. There's not a whole lot I have to say. She's family oriented. Seemed like every volleyball game I turned around and looked, her parents were there, which speaks volumes. They're supporting her. We send my daughter every day to Magnolia, and I am absolutely blessed to be able to send my daughter to a gym, to a classroom, with somebody like Coach Ferris. I know that not only is she a coach, but she's a mother, she's a friend, and she's a mentor to my daughter. That is very comforting to know that my daughter goes to that every day, because she has it at home as well. Such a blessing. Coach Ferris told the young ladies at the beginning of the year that they were going to pursue perfection. She did not tell them to be perfect. She told them to pursue perfection. I think that's what everybody should do in life. I love her dedication. She is not waver from teaching these young ladies to be strong. Adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it. And when the adversity sets in, you're starting to see the ones that are rising to the top. And I want to say thank you, Coach Ferris, for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for taking the time to come and speak tonight at our board meeting. Okay, the next part of our board meeting was intended to announce the training credits that all of the board members have gone through, and we're not required to do it now any longer. As of September 1, but we are required to do it in April. But just know that all of the board members have met or exceeded all the required hours of school board continuing education through the end of this year. So next we'll move on to the superintendent's report. I think that would be you.
I do have a report.
I hope so.
Thank you. Christmas open house at the ESC. I just have to report the date for that. It is Thursday, December the 21st, starting about, I'm sure you can get here at 7:30 for all our staff and board. You are invited for that. But it is quite a day of Christmas festivities here in the boardrooms. We invite all of our staff to come in during that day when they have an off period. We'll be feeding them the whole day. The chef will be cooking up a whole bunch of different tasty treats for us all through the day. So board, you're absolutely welcome to be up here anytime you can break free and join us for some fellowship.
I understand there'll be a little music.
It could even be a little bit of music up there at Martin, so.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Todd. Mr. Brunner, I think you're next.
Yes, sir. Just want to give you a quick update on construction from the 2015 bond. Obviously, Magnolia Intermediate, you guys got a really good look at that this afternoon, so you know where we're at. We're essentially substantially complete. We're working through some punch list items. We've completed probably 80% of our furniture order, which we anticipate taking delivery of that in February. You know, hopefully be able to use pieces and parts of that building when needed. But you guys got a good look at it tonight, and you know it's pretty close to being complete. A couple of drone shots. Again, the exterior of the building, basically the north side, south side with the play area behind it. I did take some nice pictures with a new camera that the business office was kind enough to purchase for me. I just haven't figured out quite how to download the photos yet. So this is all you get. A couple of outside shots. Bear Branch Intermediate is making a lot of progress. We basically completed most of the exterior work. We're down to completing the painting. All the kitchen equipment is installed. We're down to flooring primarily. We're working on flooring throughout, VCT, carpet, hard tiles. All the plumbing is complete. We're just working again on kind of wrapping up a lot of it, going through and testing the systems. That facility, we've gotten the cover on the ceiling, so all the overhead rough in is complete. It's been walked by the fire marshal, and he's given us a thumbs up. We have scheduled the health department for the kitchen. That's kind of a tricky one because we're moving some existing equipment out of that kitchen over to complete, you know, the kitchen, and then we're trying to do this move in over spring break, so we're kind of juggling the health department to get her there right before and then right after, but we have that set up, and that's going well. So, you know, we're on pace. We've again, for furniture order, we're looking at the very 1st of March to start moving in furniture so that we can occupy parts of this building over spring break. Not all of it, but parts of it. The additions are going well. The PD locker rooms and band hall, again, I'm keeping it loose at a spring 2018 completion, but we're looking at basically spring break for those as well. So hopefully the band can get in there and use their facility right away. The locker rooms, that'll probably be hard to transition mid-year, so we'll probably wait till summer to do that.
And just so we keep it fair to both sides, so Ms. Bertrand and her studio staff are maybe listing some of that. You know, reason we're moving in by spring breaks because we've got a lot of renovation in that existing building for band hall, choir, and other stuff that you've got to do this summer, and that's to give you a head start on getting those people out there. Is that correct?
That's a great point, Dr. Stevens. We are moving folks in and out of the library, the cafeteria, and the administration area because that entire wing's got to be renovated, and it's going to be tough to try to do it over the summer. So if we can get an early start on it, it's going to help us tremendously. That's a good point. Thank you.
Sorry, Ms. Bertrand.
Again, you only get drone shots this week on Bear Branch, but they're great shots. There's a shot of and this one at least you can see where we've kind of created the little amphitheater out back. Looks a lot better up close. We've still got to do some adjustments to the stage area, if you will. It's a little out of kilter, but we're working on it. Conference Center continues to make progress. It's sort of at a slow moving, or appears to be slow moving because it's a lot of the rough in that's going on, the MEP rough in. We hopefully will get, we got all the rooftop units set today. We'll be on schedule for late January, early February of firing those up and have conditioned space, and then you'll see the finishes really take off. But the project's moving along well. We are also, I had some nice pictures of the work we're doing under slab for the change order that we're doing for to make it into an emergency shelter. That work's going well. It's just, I don't have any shots of it, unfortunately. But here's an overhead, gives you an idea. Paving, probably 75% complete. We just need to kind of wrap around the building and complete that. The roof is complete. They're ready to start brick. 90% of the waterproofing is complete. Another shot of the portico share as you'll drive up. That's about it. You guys have any questions for me? Nope? All right.
It all looks beautiful today. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
District convocation, next fall. We're gonna be ready?
Yes, sir.
Be exciting.
No pressure, no pressure. Thank you, Mr.
Can't even get the camera to work.
That's all right, Tim. I have technical challenges like that too.
The manual's probably about that thick for the cameras.
So, okay, we're gonna move on to our consent agenda. This portion of the agenda consists of items to be routine and to be enacted by one motion unless separate discussion is requested. So, is there any questions or discussion that needs to take place on that one? If no one has any questions or comments, then we need a motion to approve, for the board to approve consent agenda items A through F as presented. Christie motion, Travis seconded. All in favor? So that motion passes. All right, so at this time, we're gonna go into a public hearing regarding the 16 and 17 Texas Academic Performance Report paper. So, Dr. Heber, you're up next.
All right, thank you. This is a summary of an annual report that we are required by the Texas Education Agency to give to the board and to the public to help them be familiar with some of the things that we're working on as a school district to continue to be the best district in the state of Texas. And most of the summary, the first part of the summary has to do with the STAR report and some of the information that we gather from that. And then there are several other indicators that are held in this 23-page report that we'll talk about a little bit tonight. This report, actually, we won't go through all 23 pages tonight. It'll just be a summary, but this is able to be accessed on the TEA website, and the link is here. I always just Google TEA TAPR, and you can look at all the indicators. It also is on the Magnolia ISD website and under About, and then we have it there under Accountability Reports. And then finally, each campus will have a hard copy kept in their library so that if anybody wants to go look at a hard copy, it is there for them to see. So one of the things that's required is that we look back at our goals as Magnolia as ISD, and our board has developed these 3 main goals that we keep as a focus point for what we work on throughout the year. The first one is that Magnolia ISD will develop and enhance a culture that values outstanding instruction and high achievement for all students. The second is we want to create a culture that promotes administrative efficiency and maximizes our resources so those dollars can go into the classroom. And finally, Magnolia ISD always strives to maintain a safe and secure environment so that learning can happen for all students all the time. So as we move into talking about the TAPR report, you can keep those 3 goals in mind. Those are important to making sure our learning environment is important. The first part of the TAPR has to do with the STAR results, as I mentioned. And by looking at the STAR results, the state gives 2 rating labels at this time to schools. You either get Met Standard or Improvement Required. Also, campuses can earn distinctions by their work in comparison to 40 other school districts that have like factors that they are paired with to be compared with. And so in looking at our district, you'll see all of our campuses here in our district. All campuses did earn the Met Standard rating. We're proud of that. And then 3 of our campuses this year have earned distinctions, and that's certainly the next step in our goals in having high instruction for all of our students is to make that column become much more full with those distinctions. But you'll see Magnolia West High School earned a distinction in science, Bear Branch Elementary as well, and then Smith Elementary earned 4 distinctions in ELA reading, in math, in science, and in post-secondary readiness. So as the principals know, we're working hard this year for the advanced achievement of our students so that that column can fill up for this report next year. As we look at a few things that have changed in this report, it is an annual report, and so this is the 5th year that we've been doing this one with the STAR test now in its 5th year. The commissioner has been very clear, the new commissioner, that he wants all of the changes in the passing standard to stop and to become a level playing field so that we can get some firm ground on how we're doing actually. And so he has been a big part of making these new labels for what passing actually is. So the 3 new labels that we'll be looking at are approaches grade level, and that is the former satisfactory passing level. And it was the second it was the second passing standard. It was the first time it jumped up, and he held it there for approaches grade level. Then there's the meets grade level standard, and that is formally, the board will remember, a final level passing standard that they had set when STAR was developed. That was the college ready standard. Students who met that were supposed to be prepared to be on the steps to being able to go into college without having to do remedial work. And the final level category is called master's grade level. And that is formerly the standard where students earned advanced level. And that's like making an A or a high B on the test. And so those are the new terms that we'll be using, and those are supposed to stick now for quite some time. Approaches grade level, meets grade level, and master's grade level. Next, this year in the reporting, I think we told you this earlier when we reported on the scores when they came, that the state has reduced different versions of the test. They've kind of put it all into one and provided extra outside accommodations to doing the test, but all students take the STAR test unless they are identified with some significant disabilities that prevent them from doing that kind of test. And so all of those students are included in this report. Also, for tonight, one of the new things that was a talking point and they decided to include in this report is the count of the students with disability and the percentages within our school district. And finally, another new piece of information is the average years of experience of campus administrators is now being reported. Not just the average for the teachers, but also the average for the campus administrators. So we'll take a look at that in just a little bit. So let's look at some STAR information. In this 23-page report, it will go through grade level by grade level. But we're just reporting tonight as part of the summary on all of our students' scores put together by subject area. So when you look at all subjects, you'll see every time will be compared to the state, to Region 6, and to Magnolia ISD. When we look at that, all subjects, you will see Magnolia ISD is ahead. In fact, in every single area down that column, that's why we have the gold stars over to the side, we are leading both the state and the region in our students' performance all the way down that column. You know, writing is one that the test changed pretty significantly last year, and that's one that had taken a little bit of slip for us. It slipped across the state as well. We're right in line with that state performance, but that is not satisfactory to us to stay in that zone. So we're working pretty hard this year. They'll all nod their heads and tell me we're working hard to make sure our students are proficient writers, because we know that is a skill that they'll need as they move on into whatever they move forward in. So we're proud of this slide. That's at approaches grade level. That's what we used to call passing STAR. And so then the next step up is that college ready level called meets grade level. So when we look at how we're doing that, it is reported at this time, not for all subjects, but students who got 2 or more subjects that meets grade level. And you'll see there our gap is even bigger. We're outperforming the state in general in most areas at a higher level. And so we're proud of that we are surpassing the state in almost every area, even in writing. We're 2 steps ahead, even though it looks like across the state that's work to be done, that level of writing that's expected to keep preparing kids to be ready for college. And then finally, when we look at the master's grade level performance, you'll see when compared to the state and the region, for all subjects, we're 2 points ahead. But reading, math, and writing, we're kind of right there in the zone with them, but we're not surpassed it at this point. And with all of the focus that previously was on STAR on the passing percentage, a lot of effort went into moving kids over that line to be passing. And sometimes we didn't focus as much on making sure that we got that high level of performance from some of our kids that were capable of that really high level performance. So we certainly are working on that this year. And that's certainly one of our goals there, is to continue to make sure that we surpass the state level in that area as well, so that we have gold stars all the way down. Even though we're right there with it, we want to be ahead of where the state and the region are in that level of performance. Another area that we're required to look at is how are our bilingual students performing. And as we know, that's a population that's growing. In our district, it's about 11% at this time that are bilingual or ESL students. And when we look at how they're comparing to the general population, as expected, students who are learning the language are not as proficient yet with the things, particularly in reading and writing, that they're learning. The bilingual early exit program, most of those students have taken the test in English because we were trying to push and accelerate that movement toward English and how they're doing there. So even the 3rd graders, even though they've been here a few years, they're still not have that really depth of knowledge of the English language. But they're doing well. We've worked very hard on this and have moved these numbers forward, and we'll continue to do that with new leadership this year in our bilingual program and expect those numbers to come up. Our ESL students are students who are usually not the bilingual students. Most of the bilingual students will go on and exit that program and no longer be considered ESL as they grow older, as soon as they're able to pass tests and do very well. ESL students are the ones often who are newcomers who have come to our district and are still newcomers for the first few years. So you can imagine that's hard to come and be responsible for a STAR test the 2nd year that you are in the country. So we work really hard at helping them accelerate and getting that, but keeping them on track for what they need to learn in their content as well, so that they can continue to be successful. As soon as they pass the STAR test, they're exited out of this program. And so they wouldn't count anymore there in that column. So it's mostly those that are in that 1 to 3 or 4 year zone of being in the U.S. that are counted in this column. Next, we always look at who's making progress. Every year getting that yearly progress, taking those steps up to the next level at the next grade level. And you'll see when we look at all subjects, Magnolia ISD is 2 points ahead of the state. In reading, they're even all the way across there. And in math, that 2 points ahead for making progress at the next grade level. When we add our bilingual students, you will see, look at the bilingual students who are in the early grades are making even more progress. As you can imagine, they have a lot to learn, but they're little sponges, and they're coming forward with that, especially in math, when they don't have to have as much language, but they're developing those skills, and really sharp kids, and they're able to exit on out of that program. Now, as we move forward into the TAPR, there are several other indicators that the state gives us to look at to help us determine how the district's doing in regard to their goals. And one of them that we've worked on for quite some time is our recommended high school and distinguished diploma graduates. And that's one for some years, a few years back, you'll see that was fairly low for us in Magnolia ISD. You'll see those are the state bars. I kind of gave some history over time for 4 years. And that's been one that our high school principals have really dedicated to moving that forward. You'll see as a district, we have moved that up almost 10 points over the last 4 years, making sure that we're taking care of that, and we intend to move it forward. In fact, both our traditional high schools are in the 80s, and moving that forward, students who often go to Alpha sometimes will take that minimum plan or foundation plan in order to get their credits and get complete. And so that there's they add to the whole district pie, but both of our traditional high schools are doing a really good job at moving that forward up into those 80s. And we'll keep doing that with some vision and work with our students and the counselors and how we push them to a real plan for after graduation. So we're proud of that slide that we've been able to move that forward. Another thing that we're proud of is our college-ready graduates. Now, this is always delayed information because they have to get all of the data in and get it rolled into the report. So this is the class of 2015. That is the data that we're looking at here. It's a little bit of a lag, but you'll see we're certainly far above the state in having our students college ready in both subjects so they can go in with that remediation into college classes. You'll see ELA, we're far, far above the state on that, and then math as well. And so we're proud of that and want to keep moving that forward so that our students have every tool they need to go on and be successful. Also on AP and IB exams, Susie Johnson gave a report in October on all of those indicators that our advanced students look at. But here you'll see Magnolia ISD is that third bar each time, and in 2016 we moved that up almost 7 points, how our students were scoring on their AP exams. And we'll be adding, this is not from the year IB was included. This is just AP exams at this point because we have that lag. Last year we had the smaller pot of IB exams, but this year our seniors will have a whole load of IB exams, but that will be a couple of years before we'll see all of that included in these results because of that lag. So I want you to know this is still AP only, but next year we'll see that smaller version of IB tests included, and then the following year after that we'll see IB and AP together in this report. Now, another feature of the requirements is college readiness, and we've talked a little bit about that, but this portion requires us to go to the Texas Higher Education website and look at what they're saying about how our students are doing. And so when we go look at that, how many of our graduates, when they leave us you'll see, remember this is lag data, they graduated in 2015 and they went on in 2016 to be enrolled in college. And you'll see there, it shows we're just a little bit behind, and that slipped a little bit that year. It's hard to go back and explain 2 years ago why we would have slipped, but it's certainly data we want to look at and continue to move forward on the number of students that we have actually enrolled in higher ed and then completing that year. And this is when we look at how many of ours, once they are enrolled, are completing that first year without remediation. And you'll see there was a slip there as well for us, but across the state also. This was also the year the TSI test changed, that college entrance test, and became much harder. And I think that's probably the reason right there for it slipping. It pushed more kids into remediation classes when the test standards went higher. So we're working on that particularly. Both of our high schools are offering the TSI to our junior students so they can get into more dual credit classes when they're a senior, and we're really helping them do that, or get into college prep classes so that they are ready to go to college straight from high school. They either they're enrolled and they have hours, or they are prepared to go on to college. And finally, this is part of the report. We look, where do our kids go? This is data from the Higher Education Coordinating Board. We have, this was total for the district. From the graduating year 2015, 154 total graduates went to a four-year public university. 241 went to two-year colleges. So you see a lot more of our students go to those junior colleges than take that first step into a four-year university. And then the rest, here's information they do have. College Board can't always find where kids go. They just tell us they're not in our system. And then you'll see they also divide out how are they doing once they're there. And you know, lower than 2.0 is not a good GPA. And so we want to keep moving that forward into those higher GPAs so that they know they're prepared and we know that they're successful when they go on to college.
System doesn't track any students that go out of state.
No, it's only in Texas. It doesn't get out of state. It doesn't give any private universities. And so it's not a significant amount of data, but I do think it is important for us to know a lot of our kids go into two-year college first as their first step into that world. Okay, I told you that new this year, it was a little bit of a talking point with the state. This year are wanting to make sure that we're serving well our students with disabilities. And so this year they're reporting by different categories of disabilities, our students. And if you'll look at the two different pie charts, if we take the state and their students with disabilities and compare it to our pie chart, you almost can lay them on top of each other because they're very similar in the amount of our special education students and how that lays out within our general population and how they divide out overall. And I don't think that's certainly by design, it's just when that came up that way. There was the picture, it looks very similar to the different types of disabilities that we serve here in our district. You'll see that we have over 1,000 students that have different kinds of special needs that require accommodations. And then finally, in the TAPR report, remember I told you this year, it talks about the average years of experience of principals, and that, you know, a lot of research is pointing to the principal as a difference maker in the school. Certainly the teacher is a difference maker in the classroom, looking at the students and being that front line of what they're learning, but also what the principal creates on campus and how that makes a difference to what the teachers are able to do is a big factor. So they're reporting those things. We have our principals, and then our APs, and then the years of experience of our teachers. You see, we're very close to what the state levels are for everything. Our APs have a lot of years of experience. And then our teachers, we have almost 11 years with our teachers. The state is just a little bit over 12 years experience. Last couple of things that are required as part of this report. You know, Dr. Morris gave his financial first report a couple of months ago and was very proud that we received that superior rating with a letter grade of A. That full report can be accessed at this website, and this whole PowerPoint will be posted out on the web for people to be able to access some of those links if necessary. And finally, Magnolia ISD, once again, is an accredited school district and has earned our accredited status, and any information about that can be found at this link right here. So that's all of the required portion and a brief summary of some things that I pulled out to spotlight for you guys. Do you have any questions or things you would like to consider as part of that report, or I can go back to anything you'd like to look at?
Well, if there's not any questions from us. Since this is a public hearing portion of this, we're gonna open the mic for anybody who has any comments or questions regarding Dr. Ebert's update.
You were very thorough, Dr.
Well, thank you. Very good. As fast as I could turn that wheel. It's 23 pages, I'm just saying.
So if there's no questions or comments, we'll conclude this, this hearing. Thank you, Dr. Ebert. Thank you very much. Okay, Dr. Todd, I think you're next.
I'm not disputing that.
MCAT.
Well, we're back to that portion
We were at last month.
where we had last month, where we have to cast ballots for the Montgomery County Appraisal District Board. And so, that's a little opening up the board, but we have to choose those people. These, to be, for clarification, are the people who actually serve in the fiduciary role as the actual board. They set the board budget for the Appraisal District Board and give it direction. So we're looking for those members of that board of trustees to function at first. And we get so many votes, and we have to cast our votes to be dispersed among the people as we deem fit.
So there's 13 candidates on the list, and there's been 3 identified that we could vote for if we so choose. We could choose to cast our votes for 1, 2, or all 3 of those. So if you guys are good with it, then these guys, the 3 of them I'm talking about that have been identified are Barry Blanton, Bo Nerluzzi, and Bruce Tough. So if you guys are okay with it, then what we can do is divide our votes between those 3. All the votes that we cast between those 3. Does anybody have any other suggestions? You want to handle it differently? Okay, so we need a motion that the board approve a resolution casting 315 votes, that's 100 votes, for those candidates I just mentioned to serve on the Montgomery Central Appraisal District Board of Directors as presented. So we need a motion by Chuck, seconded by Sonia. All in favor? So that motion passes. All right. Dr. Bullock, I think you're next.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Blizzard. Bringing consideration and possible action regarding a resolution to consider a designation as District of Innovation for the school district. You'll notice in your packet there's a little bit of background. In the spring of 2015, the Texas legislature passed House Bill 1842, which allows school districts the opportunity to be designated as a District of Innovation. What this does is it allows the district certain flexibility with state rules and guidelines and different policies. The administration is interested in exploring the District of Innovation designation for one reason at this point, and that is to consider an earlier start date to next school year before the 4th Monday in August, which statute requires that we don't start earlier than that unless we pursue a District of Innovation process. And that's why we're bringing this to you. Since the legislature has established this process and made it available to districts, over 600 school districts have taken advantage of that since 2015. So this is not something that's unusual to ask. And to begin that process, we're asking that you approve a resolution. The resolution will only start us on the process. It doesn't say that we're definitely doing it. It lets us establish a committee and explore seeking the designation, and then we would eventually come back to you with a plan approved out of committee that you would get to look at before we do anything further. I'd be happy to take any questions you have at this time.
And the primary reason is for the calendar.
The only reason at this point, yes, sir, that's what we're looking at is to have some flexibility when we start school next year.
Right.
And possibly start into the week prior to that 4th Monday to give us some more flexibility with professional development and how the minutes stack out in case we have bad weather days.
Right. Does anybody got any questions? Okay, so we need a motion that the board adopt a resolution to consider designation as a district of innovation. Motion by Sonia, seconded by Christie. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. So, seeing that the board has adopted this resolution to consider the designation, you want to continue on, Dr. Bullock, have you got some other things you want to say about this or not?
Yes, as part of that, once we start off into a process to determine if we would like to be a district of innovation, the next step is that we must hold a public hearing this evening, and I think Mr. Blizzard, you have that language there?
Yes. So I just want to make sure you didn't have any further comments. So seeing as the board has adopted the resolution to consider designation as a district of innovation, the board is now going to hold a public meeting to consider whether the district should develop a local innovation plan for the designation of the district as a district of innovation pursuant to Texas Education Code Chapter 12A.002. So at the conclusion of this public hearing, or as soon as possible after the conclusion of this hearing, what we may do is one of two things. We may decline to pursue designation as a district of innovation, or we may appoint a committee to develop a local innovation plan in accordance with the Texas Education Code Chapter 12A.003. So at this time, any member of the public can speak on this issue. Seeing that there's no other members of the public who wish to speak on this topic,
You know, I'm not a member of the public, but I want to reiterate again what we just talked about, that we're looking at this only for the possibility of giving us a little extra lead time, maybe a week, 5 days, to start a calendar. There are a number of districts that have looked at some of the things that can go on in the District of Innovation. It had to do with setting aside some of the certification process for our teachers. And we just, from an administrative standpoint to our teachers, want to make it very clear that is not what we're exploring. We want to make sure we have properly certified teachers in our classrooms. We're not interested in exploring any of those possibilities where we exempt those qualifications for our teachers. This is only going to be about calendar days and give us some flexibility when we start. And our principals will be the first one, if they speak. We had to front load all of our staff development this year, because if we start with the state's date and try to end sometime by the end of, before Memorial Day, it's a very compressed calendar, and we had to front load a lot of our teacher days for that, and that's not the best for us to work with our teachers. So we think it's worth us exploring it and doing it, but we don't want to consider it as, I know in some other districts that has been a hot topic among teachers, that we're going to set that certification part aside. We don't plan to explore that at all.
Jason, what's the big distinguishing factor in being a district of innovation, besides the hours and the extra school starting early? What would be the distinction of being a district of innovation?
It's a good question. It's a process the legislature has set up to give us some flexibility on rules like this. I wouldn't get too caught up in the title District of Innovation. It's really just we jump through some hoops and have a process and determine a plan that says some of these regulations may not apply to us if we think that's what's best for us locally. It's about giving more local control to school districts.
So it's also about leveling a playing field a little bit between those public districts like ourselves and some of those that are publicly chartered that don't have to follow some of the same designations we do by some of the state rules. And so it somewhat gives us a chance to set aside some of those things. Not a lot of them, but one of them also is the start date as a part of that. And there's some other ones, including certification, again, we don't want to go into. Look at those issues.
And as best I can tell, looking at the 600 plus districts and just kind of doing a scatter shot of what are the type things they're pursuing, this is the most popular option. And the most popular reason that districts consider District of Innovation is so that they can have an earlier start date than that fourth Monday in August.
Good? Okay, since there's nobody else other than in the public, right? who wish to speak on this, so this public meeting is concluded. We're now going to move on to the next item. Dr. Bullock?
Yes, sir. Since we have had a hearing and have approved a resolution to head off in this direction, the next step would be for the board to appoint a committee to explore the District of Innovation. And I have a whole list in your packet of a committee to appoint, which would look pretty familiar, I think, to a lot of our people. It's very similar to our District Education Improvement Committee, which includes representatives from parents, business leaders, community members, as well as a teacher representative from each campus in the district, and a handful of administrators. So we see that as a committee that's broad-based. It is the committee that already deals with calendar issues on behalf of the district and spends the time producing a calendar, so we thought it would be the best group to begin a start on working on a District of Innovation plan. Yes, sir. So if you guys would be willing to approve the committee?
Absolutely. Is any questions? Okay, so we need a motion that the Board of Trustees approve the appointment of a District of Innovation Committee, like Dr. Bullock highlighted, as recommended by the superintendent. Motion by Travis, seconded by Christie. All in favor? So that motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Bullock. Okay. Anything else for the moment, Dr. Todd?
I believe we've reached that point.
Okay. All right, so at this time, what we're going to do is the board's going to move into recess into closed executive sessions for the purposes permitted by to consult with the district's legal counsel to receive legal advice regarding level 3 grievance appeal process and to receive legal advice regarding parent-student level 3 grievance appeal pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071. So we're going to move into executive session, Charlotte. The board is now in open session. The next item on the agenda is to consider the grievance of Mr. and Mrs. Glover brought on behalf of their daughter. So I will ask if the grieving party is represented, and if so, would the representative please state your name for the record? Okay, thank you. The grievance will be heard in open session as requested by Mr. and Mrs. Glover. Mr. and Mrs. Glover, do you understand by the requesting that the hearing be held in open session, you are granting permission for the board and the district administration to discuss pertinent information regarding your daughter that is relevant to your agreements that would otherwise be considered confidential pursuant to the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Education records regarding your daughter that are not relevant to this grievance will not be discussed or disclosed as part of this grievance, and the district will not disclose or discuss information regarding any student other than your daughter. Will you please state for the record whether you consent for this limited release of education records regarding your daughter?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It is December the 11th, 2017, and it is 8:30 p.m. In order to provide an accurate record, a tape recording of the proceedings is being made. Please avoid talking when others are speaking so that the record will reflect the proceedings accordingly. The following board members are present: Chuck Adcox, Christy Baker, Sonia Ebel, and Dr. Travis Moffitt, and my name is Gary Blizzard. So we have a quorum present tonight. So I'll now provide instructions regarding the procedures to be followed in this grievance hearing. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with the district's policy, FNG local. The grievant will present the level 3 appeal to the board. I will ask the board members not to interrupt during the appeal presentation. When the grievant has completed her presentation, the administration may make a reply. This is not a formal evidentiary hearing, and there will be no calling of witnesses or cross-examination. The board will consider only the issues in the documents presented below. The parties may not introduce new documentation or information to the board during this appeal. Members of the board are not to be questioned. Unless you tell me now that you expect to need a greater length of time, I ask that you please limit your presentation to 15 minutes each. In the interest of fairness, I want to give both sides the same amount of time. If warranted, we may provide additional time as necessary to wrap up. So are there any questions regarding the conduct of the hearing?
Yeah. I think we might need a little bit more time beyond 15 minutes. Is that all three of us will be speaking? Alex, the mother, and the father, at 5 minutes apiece? Is it?
Or 15, however you choose to
Oh,
use it.
15 is the max?
Right.
That'd be fine.
Okay.
You can divide up that time however you see fit.
Right. I understand.
Okay, so if we're good with all that, Mr. and Mrs. Glover, you can now present your appeal.
Hi, my name is Alex Glover, and I used to play volleyball for Magnolia High School. Volleyball has always been my second home, bringing me happiness, excitement, lifelong friendships, and many valuable lessons. Sadly, I can't say that my previous season at Magnolia, has been full of joy. Intimidated, bullied, and embarrassed are a couple of words that come to my mind when I think of this season. On numerous accounts, I was put down and humiliated in front of a group of girls I called my best friends. My love and passion for volleyball is so big that I decided to put up with it until one day where I felt like I had no choice but to quit. Coach Ferris calls both JV and varsity into the weight room and tells us to sit down because she says she needs to talk to us. The first thing she says, and I quote, is, "JV kids, I'm sorry y'all have to hear this." Immediately she shifts gears and asks who did not eat tacos with the team on Friday. Me and another player raised our hands. She continued to ask why we did not eat tacos, and we explained that my mom had brought us an alternate for food because we did not want tacos to mess with our stomach before our game, and we ate them in the locker room so the person who supplied the tacos would not feel bad. As soon as we were done eating, we immediately went into the room with the other players, which I might add were in and out of the room, taking restroom breaks and back and forth from the locker room to get markers, and we arrived right as the food was getting there. Coach Ferris said that she had been told from another player that we had not been in the room at the team meal. Coach Ferris did not talk to Paige and I separately, nor did she give us a chance to tell our side of the story before lashing out at the both of us in front of most of the program. Coach Ferris continued to scream that we were not team players and we were the reason the team was divided. The other player and I were both crying, and she still decided to kick us down. She looked at me still screaming and said, "I bet if SMU had a team dinner you would be there, and if the SMU coaches told you to do something you would do it, and if the SMU team was doing something you do it. Is it that you only care about SMU and not Magnolia volleyball?" After Coach Ferris was done, Coach Brown goes, and I quote, "Alex, I'm going to pick on you for a second." For the next 2 to 3 minutes, Coach Brown and Coach Ferris stood in front of JV and varsity and said how I was not a leader, how they have chosen me to be a captain, but I'm not leading, and how the younger girls should not look up to me because I was not setting a good example for them. How am I supposed to lead a program after they have seen me weak and shot down, and they have been told that they should not look up to me? At the end of the conversation, she told me and the other player that we could either sit the bench the next game, run for our consequence, or quit. Me and the other player both answered with run because we did not want to give up on our team. After we ran, the other player and I, the coaches wanted to talk to us, which resulted in the other player leaving the program. After they talked to her, they talked to me and continued to tell me that I was not being a leader, and also added that I wasn't a hard worker. These are all things I value as an athlete, and being told that I didn't have these qualities was very hurtful. After our conversation, they asked me if I would fix these things, and I said I would. By this time, we were down 3 varsity players that felt that the need to leave due to mistreatment, so I knew it would be harder than ever, but I went in with a good attitude, knowing a winning season could still be possible. I took about 20 minutes to talk to another coach to calm me down before I went to practice so I could give the team my 100%, and since I had been crying so much, embarrassed and scared out of my mind, I could not do that at that time. I told one of the players who was still in the locker room where I was going, and she said it was okay, and I asked if she would let the rest of the team know, and she said yes. When I came back during the water break, Coach Brown and Ferris told me that I was not being a team player once again and being late to practice, although I was already late due to the conversation outside. They told me I needed to go over to the whole team like a 4-year-old and apologize for being late. When I went to apologize, I was crying, and the team was laughing, knowing it was ridiculous, and gave me a big team hug. After this embarrassment, I made myself a promise that I would no longer be put down, embarrassed, bullied, intimidated, or hurt by Coach Ferris, and the only option I had was to leave the program. I knew the treatment would not get any better, and I hoped the result of 4 varsity players leaving would result in better treatment from her to the remaining players in the program. Leaving was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make, but I knew the result of staying would do far more damage. I knew leaving would come along with consequences, such as people and teachers asking questions and losing some of my most cherished volleyball friends who had to hear the assassination of my character and have been influenced to think that some of us players are cancers, as Coach Ferris would refer to us many, many times. For any teenage girl, this is a lot to swallow, but I'm doing it in hopes that you will make a change. 4 varsity players left during the season. Freshman girls have recently left the program, and who knows who else will leave if this continues. There are kids who are afraid to say anything because they're intimidated, as I once was, by the retaliation that may be acted against them. With all this being said, I'm not asking you to just consider the girls in the program now, but the girls who will stay away from playing volleyball at Magnolia High because they are afraid of a single person. This is just one of the accounts that I had with Coach Ferris, not the only situation towards me and the team that has led this program to where it is today. I hope that this will be taken into consideration when you evaluate the situation. Also, I would like to address that it has been said that the people who quit weren't hard workers or that we did not buy into the program, as I don't find this true, because out of the 3 of the 4 people who quit, there was one workout that Coach Ferris had invited us to go to in the summer, and it was at 7 o'clock, and 3 of the 4 people who quit were the only people who went there. And we did buy into the program. There was an interview before the season they asked us numerous questions, and we all said that we were excited for the season, excited for the coach, and excited for the chemistry that all of us had. Also, for the players, I understand that some people are going to disagree with leaving the program, but I think that the reason they disagree may be because they're not looking at it from the point of view from the girls that were affected. And some of the parents of the other players who weren't targeted by Coach Ferris were not there and didn't witness the same things as we did. And a lot of the parents are saying that she's a great mother, sister, friend, and daughter, and I'm not here to say that she isn't any of those things, but I do not agree that she's in the best interest in keeping the great tradition that Magnolia Volleyball has upheld all these years. One more situation that just came to my mind that put us down in the middle of the season is we lost a game, and after the game, she told us we weren't accepting her, and her response was, nobody's gonna fire me after my first year. In 10 years, I'm still gonna be here, and nobody's gonna remember y'all.
Okay, first of all, I would like to say that I never ever thought I would be standing here in front of you explaining or defending our daughter's character and what she and our family stands for. We have always taught our children to compete fairly, work hard, and represent God, family, and her team. We also taught her to be proud of who she is, what you have accomplished, and always live up to your God-given potential. We as parents never thought that Alex would be faced with abuse disguised as tough coaching. Coaching is about being a good role model, enhancing a student athlete's self-esteem, and building character. Up until our current volleyball coach took over, that was what Magnolia Volleyball stood for. Alex was proud to represent the Lady Bulldogs on the court, in the classroom, and in the community. If our daughter Alex had been called names, sent an awful text, or a milk poured on her in the lunchroom by other students, there would be no question that she was being bullied. That student would be given a punishment. If she had been sexually harassed or been a victim of racism from their coach, more people would have taken notice. But because they were bullied and abused by their coach, and the physical bruises have healed, the emotional bruises remain and will be there for a lifetime. Before I go any further, let me give you some facts and the history of our daughter, Alexandria Glover. Alex was a 3-year varsity volleyball student athlete. She was named 5A Newcomer of the Year as a freshman, All Montgomery County Newcomer of the Year as a freshman, All District Academic Team 5.2 GPA as a freshman and sophomore, Most Improved voted by her team, Offensive MVP voted by her team, All District 5A freshman as a freshman and sophomore, and All State in Texas as a freshman and sophomore. She had so many accolades as a club volleyball player, we would be here all day. But one of her biggest accomplishments is that she is committed to play Division I volleyball at SMU, in which she has earned a full ride athletic scholarship. She's a member of Mu Alpha Theta, member of Honor Society, appointed to the leadership team by Dr. Metz. Alex also represented Magnolia in track as a high jumper. She won district in 5A as a freshman and as a sophomore. She went to state last year and placed 5th in the state. We feel that it's necessary to show you in black and white what and who our daughter is, what she stands for, and how she has represented her school, Magnolia High. There are so many examples of the harsh and humiliating abuse Alex has had to endure since the very beginning of Coach Ferris and Coach Brown taking over the Magnolia volleyball program. From the beginning, Coach Ferris has made it very clear in no uncertain terms that this program would be ran as she said so, and if the girls did not like it, they could quit. That is a coach that coaches through fear and intimidation. She has the girls so scared that if they did not do what she wanted, that they would be punished by being put off the team. Coach Ferris plays head games with the volleyball players. She has said several times that she is making the athletes, quote unquote, mentally tough. She feels, quote, if you baby them, praise them too much, or falsely build self-esteem, then you're really hurting the student athlete because you're making them, as she would say, soft. Coach Ferris was establishing a pattern of abuse. An example of that is early in the offseason when Coach Ferris came over to take over the off-season program. She asked the girls to do things that were unsafe, unhealthy, and abusive. She had the girls bear crawl in the hot Magnolia sun on hot turf. Many of the girls asked to stop because their knees and hands were burning. She refused to let them stop to even get water. We have photos on tab 15. Because of this abusive behavior and the disinterest in the feelings and well-being of her players, some of the girls had blisters that had to be treated by doctors. Not only is this just wrong and excessive, it is neglect. Another example of abuse and excessive conditioning is telling the girls to carry on their backs other athletes while jogging. I don't know what this has to do with volleyball, but I do know that several of the girls already had back problems, like Alex, and this could not help her situation. Whenever they complained or were visibly upset, crying, they were told and screamed at to finish the drill. If they did not finish the drill, then they had to start over until they finished. Since when in Magnolia history has it been okay for the student athletes that represent MISD to travel to and from a school-sanctioned activity, a tournament, in their own parents' vehicles? Not only were we told that a bus or van would not be taken to an out-of-town tournament, which was 190 miles one way, we were told we had to be available to transport not only our own daughters, but other athletes that needed to be transported. Coach Ferris told us at a parents' meeting that she did not want to get a van because it was her birthday weekend, and she wanted to stay in New Brunsville after the tournament and did not want to drive the van and girls back. If we did get a van, that Coach Brown would be driving it back alone, as she laughed. This is another example of neglect and abuse. This shows she is more interested in her own personal needs than the safety of her players. Because of her selfishness, I personally did not trust the judgment of Coach Ferris and had to rearrange my work schedule to chaperone my child on a 3-day out-of-town volleyball tournament. While driving to New Brunsville, Alex received a text stating that she and her teammates would be responsible for their own meal that evening. Coach Ferris had made a reservation for the team and was later informed that she could not pay for the meal because it was the day before the tournament. She asked the girls to go up early to have some fun because she had a surprise for them. I personally had to loan a couple of girls money so they could eat because they were not expecting to have to pay. After dinner, the girls were surprised by being escorted to a bar. The girls went into the establishment that was serving beer, wine, and hard liquor. With college students taking shots. I don't know what Coach Ferris was thinking about this, but this is wrong. This was not a place that teenage girls, some as young as 13, should be surprised. My daughter was approached and asked to dance by, as her quote, old man. From the time they got there to the time they left, she was uncomfortable. But she wanted to be with her teammates, and she did not want to seem like she was not being a team player. Another one of Coach Ferris's bullying and intimidation moves. She often tells the girls that they are not being a good teammate, or in Alex's situation, a good leader, when she does not agree with what is happening. She is never satisfied with what the girls do. She rarely uses praise or positive feedback to encourage the girls. She creates a team environment based on fear and devoid of safety. Coach Ferris uses public embarrassment and humiliation on her athletes when she is angry. A prime example of that was in New Brunsfield during a 3-day tournament. The team was not having the best game. We were losing some that she felt that we should win. The entire game, she would call timeouts and yell at the girls, telling them what they were doing wrong.
Ms. Glover, your time is up.
You can have my time then, and I'll just.
That's the total of
Yeah.
15 minutes.
That was the 15 minutes.
Well, she can't run on for my time? Do I have to
It's
take
15 minutes total.
Okay.
Didn't you ask
But-
for extra time?
No, not believe, we can give you, are you agreeable to giving them 3 minutes to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We give them 3 minutes to finish your presentation.
Okay. It has been explained that no rules or regulations have been found to have been broken by our current coach or other members of her staff. If that in fact is true, that means your administration accepts, is protecting, and by doing so, promoting the most boorish, destructional behavior imaginable amongst your staff members. We must ask ourselves, why is a program such as Magnolia falling apart with barely enough student athletes to field teams? Abuse is abuse, no matter what kind of spin you put on it. Abuse is not good coaching. This type of abuse should not be tolerated in Magnolia. Until now, I was not aware that it was.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Andrew Glover. I am a former student athlete at the junior high level, the high school level, and at the collegiate level. I'm also an ex-professional football player in the National Football League. I also was in 2013, I participated in a leadership program with Magnolia Independent School District, where I received a plaque for my leadership and outstanding commitment to the district by Dr. Todd Stevens. Alice Glover is my daughter. My sons and daughter have been student athletes at Magnolia High School for 6 years. During that time, I have mentored, advised, and encouraged student athletes on what it takes to become the very best student athletes in Magnolia and nationally. We have enjoyed great success and great agony and distress as well. We have fought tirelessly to earn respect and admiration as we represented God, family, and Magnolia High School athletics. This past year has been the toughest ever while transitioning with our new volleyball coach. We have experienced more internal adversities than any opponent we have ever faced. Our current varsity volleyball coach arrived with high expectations of her new team. We have participated in the state volleyball playoffs for the prior 2 years. There was a new sheriff in town, and it was going to be her way or the highway. All the softies or the weaker girls were to be eliminated through tough physical training, tough mental training, and even tougher emotional experiences. My daughter and 3 young student athletes walked away from the coach and the team because of accumulated abusive events by the hand of our varsity coach. Many violations of the coach's code of conduct were committed during this time. So much so that the state of the current volleyball program is in crisis. Why is that, you ask? When your current head varsity volleyball coach has a reputation for which she ridicules, bullies, slanders, and physically abuses her players, parents and student athletes take notice. Our team experienced 4 varsity volleyball players walk away during the middle of the volleyball season. Our girls endured the worst kinds of abuse imaginable this past summer.
Your time
You need to wrap up at this point.
I was up 15 minutes?
3.
You were given a total of 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Plus an additional 3.
Okay, well, in essence, I just wanted to say, the last thing I wanted to say is I think that a crisis management team needs to be put together to address these young ladies and look after them and put together something that's gonna keep the volleyball program in Magnolia the very best that it can be. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So the administration can now proceed with the reply, and in fairness, there's 18 minutes for you as well.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Blizzard, Dr. Stevens, members of the board. For the record, my name is Jason Bullock. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Administration for Magnolia ISD. I'll be presenting the school district's response to the Level 3 appeal. I want to start by answering a few questions. Has Coach Ferris set high expectations? Yes, she has. Has she set out to put her own stamp on the culture of the volleyball program at Magnolia High and called out kids when they are not fully buying in? Yes. Has she insisted on setting the rules and processes for her program and been unwilling to change at times when challenged by some of the kids and parents? Yes. As the head coach, she gets to do that when she believes it's in the best interest of the program and the team culture she is building. Has she admonished kids and demanded that they work hard and push themselves in maybe ways that they have never been asked to before? Yes, of course. But none of that constitutes abuse, harassment, or bullying. And just because the Glovers insist that their daughter was bullied, harassed, or even verbally abused in some way by Coach Ferris, that doesn't make it so. The grievance argue that they are not alone in their view of Coach Ferris and the way in which she runs the volleyball program. But there is another side of the story. There's a large contingent of athletes and parents who are pleased with the changes to the volleyball program and support their head coach. There are kids who stuck with the program, chose not to quit, and have instead developed a sense of team and a positive culture under Coach Ferris's leadership. Those kids like their head coach and are happy with the changes that have come to the program and are excited about their future. And their parents feel the same way. Let's talk about the changes in the Magnolia High volleyball program over the last 6 months. It started late last spring when Leslie Madison, the previous head coach, asked to leave coaching in order to accept a teaching position within the district. In April, Coach Ferris was hired from Willis High School. Her background includes success as a high school player in Alvin, where she played in state finals, in the club environment, where she played and was later a head coach, and as a scholarship volleyball athlete at UT Arlington, where she was named to the school's all-decade team. Her 5 years as head coach at Willis included an appearance in the regional semifinals of the state playoffs. My point with providing this information is to say that Coach Ferris came to us with a proven track record of success, and this is not her first job as a head coach. After being hired in April, Coach Ferris was not fully released from her contract in Willis until the end of the school year. This left her with little time to begin working with the Magnolia High volleyball kids before summer vacation. The volleyball season begins on August 1st. Tryouts, preseason workouts, and even the first several non-district games of the season all happen before the first day of school. It is a very short window for a new head coach to put her mark on a program and begin to build the kind of culture she wants. By mid-September, just as the district schedule was starting, Alex Glover and a handful of other players chose to quit the volleyball team. I want to make clear that they were not kicked off or removed from the team. They chose to quit. The team played the bulk of the season without them. Alex and her parents subsequently filed a formal complaint against Coach Ferris and Coach Brown, and that is what brings us here this evening. There are 3 specific issues raised in the complaint that I would like to address tonight. The first of those issues is this. Mr. and Mrs. Glover take particular issue with a specific incident that occurred between Alex and the coaching staff. On Friday, September the 8th, Alex and another player chose not to participate in the pregame team meal provided by the Booster Club, a meal that they had participated in up until that point. And instead, they were brought Chick-fil-A by Mrs. Glover. They chose to eat on their own away from their other teammates. The purpose of the team meal is to promote team unity, and the absence of the 2 players spoke volumes. On Monday, September the 11th, during the athletic period, Coach Ferris chose to address this issue by speaking directly to Alex and the other player in front of the team. According to Coach Ferris, by her account, she was extremely vocal and demonstrative in explaining the negative effect the actions of those players were having on team unity. She also made clear that this was an ongoing pattern of behavior that included poor leadership, a sense of entitlement, and a general lack of compliance with her directives. After releasing the rest of the team to practice, Coach Ferris, Coach Brown, and Coach Clemens stayed with Alex and the other athlete for approximately 20 minutes to counsel them regarding the situation. Both players were told why their actions were addressed so directly in front of the team and what they could do to move forward from that point in a positive manner for the rest of the season. The two players were encouraged to take a positive role in leading the team and were told that they were important to the future of the program. The players were then sent to practice. Alex arrived approximately 20 minutes late and then chose to quit the team the next day. After reviewing this situation, the administration has concluded that while Coach Ferris's interaction with Alex and the other player was harsh and emphatic, she was not abusive, and by meeting with the athletes afterwards, she provided them a positive way to move forward. The second issue I'd like to discuss. Mr. and Mrs. Glover contend that the volleyball coaches conducted bear crawl drills on the hot artificial turf of the football field, and that these drills caused scratches and blisters on the hands of some of the players. After investigating the situation thoroughly, there were two isolated incidents occurring a few months apart where bear crawl drills were conducted as described. One incident with upperclassmen during the spring off-season, and one a few months later with the freshmen. In neither case was Alex Glover one of the athletes in question. The investigation also shows that these were isolated events, and there was no systemic pattern of bear crawl drills being conducted in this manner as part of the volleyball program. There also never was an intent on the part of the coaching staff to injure or hurt anyone. The MISD Athletic Department has provided coaches with guidance that specifically addresses this and will continue to ensure that those procedures are followed. The third topic I'd like to discuss. The grievance have also alleged that Coach Ferris and Coach Brown took the players to a bar while at a tournament in New Braunfels. Our investigation has found the following. While attending an early season tournament in New Braunfels, the varsity volleyball team had dinner at the Gristmill Restaurant in Green, Texas. A large group of parents was at the restaurant as well. After dinner, the coaches and the team walked by historic Green Hall, which many see as a tourist attraction as it is the oldest dance hall in Texas and has been featured in several movies. The coaches and the players went inside for approximately 20 minutes. The large group of parents, which included Mrs. Glover, went in as well. Not one of the parents present objected at the time. The kids posed for a few pictures, did a line dance or two, and left. There is no allegation that students or coaches drank alcohol or did anything inappropriate while inside. The school investigation has confirmed this. In summation, the Glovers have attempted to paint a picture of Coach Ferris and the volleyball program at Magnolia High that the administration sees as inaccurate. At level 1, Dr. Metz assured the Glovers that any issues they had raised as a part of the complaint had been addressed appropriately. After reviewing the entire situation as part of the level 2 appeal, I assured the Glovers, again, that their concerns have been addressed appropriately. The reason we are here tonight is because they are not satisfied with that answer. Throughout the appeal, the complainants have continued to ask for three things. First, they asked that Coach Ferris be fired from her position as head volleyball coach or reassigned to a non-coaching position in the district. After reviewing all information, the administration does not see grounds to support that recommendation. Second, the grievance have asked that Coach Ferris be assigned to sensitivity training. While Coach Ferris, Coach Brown, and all of our coaches will continue to be mentored by Athletic Director Mike Spradlin, and we will always strive to build positive relationships with kids, after reviewing all information, the administration does not see grounds to support assigning Coach Ferris and Coach Brown to sensitivity training. Third, the grievance finally have requested a transfer to Magnolia West High School for the upcoming fall so that Alex could play volleyball for another coach if Coach Ferris is still at Magnolia High School. This request has been denied as it is outside of board policy FDB local, which states, and I quote, that no inter-district transfer shall be approved when the primary purpose for the request is participation in extracurricular activities at the receiving campus, unquote. Such a transfer would also likely be seen by the UIL as moving for athletic purposes, which would make Alex ineligible for participation in athletics according to UIL rule. In closing, I'd like to thank the board for taking the time to listen to the administration's response this evening, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. So now we've concluded the presentation by both of the parties. Does anybody have any questions, comments? It's now time for any discussion that we want to have to take place.
I believe there is one question that does need to be addressed. I know that the administration mentioned 3 remedies. From the Glovers, what are you requesting here from the board tonight? I know you had mentioned some kind of crisis training, but what's the remedy you're requesting from the board?
Sir, we just want the truth to be told and the truth to be heard, and we would like for the board to make the best decision for the girls moving forward in the program, because at this point, everybody has most of the team has walked away from the program or is trying to get out of the class. So we weren't really given a lot of options. We just tried to come up with different things that we thought might be workable. But in terms of trying to resolve our problem or resolving our issues before we got to this point, that should have happened. And we don't have a crisis management team to listen to the girls' parents, because 8 parents gave us power of attorney to speak on their behalf and their daughter's behalf because of what happened to Alex and the other girls. And that's all we want. We just want the truth to be heard, and at least somebody talk to those young ladies and talk to their parents so we can come to a happy medium for the benefit of Magnolia volleyball moving forward.
I have a legal question.
Okay.
Can we?
If a legal question is raised, we do have to move into closed session to discuss that, because I cannot provide legal advice to the board in open session.
Okay.
So, if you'll go ahead, if the board president will please go ahead and put us in closed session. The only purpose is to discuss a legal question. We cannot deliberate in closed session, but it's just to answer a legal question from a board member.
Okay, so we're now going to move into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071 to consult with the district's legal counsel regarding legal issues raised during the course of the previous hearing. Okay, so we're back now in open session. Are there any questions or comments by any of the board members at this time?
I have a question for administration. And the crisis management process that is being suggested, is there an administrative process already in place that monitors the athletic programs, or?
Yes, ma'am, there is. We have an athletic director that monitors those programs. I know the principal has met with parents in conjunction with this, as has the athletic director, and heard concerns. I don't know if I'm answering your question or not, Christine.
Well,
As far as a crisis management team, as defined as that?
just a process within the program that is developed to address the things that happen on our athletic program teams.
Yes, ma'am. I think within our programs, our coaches, expect kids to come to them. We also have kids go to, we have an athletic administration at the campus, which would be Coach Doty as the campus athletic director. Has an open door to kids with concerns and meets with kids and parents as they're concerned. The same with the principal and Dr. Metz. So, yes, ma'am, we certainly have means available for kids to bring concerns forward.
Thank you.
I had a question, and this is for the administration. You mentioned that a transfer to West would violate UIL rules. Could you further explain that to us?
Yes, ma'am. and the way I understand the UIL rule is that, that when a student has previous athletic participation at another school at the varsity level, that one of the questions is, why is that student moving? And that if the student is moving for athletic purposes, that by UIL rule, that student is often ruled ineligible because of that for participation at the new school.
So if they go to the school they're not boundaried for, they're ineligible for the next year?
If the reason for that move is due to athletic purposes, and in this case, this is why.
So then they wouldn't be able to play that year?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And you said our own policy.
But then, yes, sir, our board policy prohibits a transfer when the basis of the transfer is for, participation in extracurricular at the receiving campus.
Anybody got any more questions or comments? Okay, I'm going to now instruct the members of the board regarding the proper process of reaching a decision in this appeal. Having heard this level 3 appeal, we have the following options. We can vote to grant the appeal, which means that we believe the appeal has merit and the relief requested should be granted. We may also vote to deny the appeal, which means that we believe the administration acted appropriately and the relief requested should be denied. Finally, we may grant in part or deny in part any or all of the relief requested. Throughout the decision-making process, the board should consider only the complaint presentation and reply presented tonight at this meeting and the local record of this grievance. We are not to consider any statement or other information that we may have heard outside of this hearing. So at this point, do we have a motion regarding the grievance?
I'll make a motion. I think, given the remedies that we've been given here tonight on appeal, that I would move that the board affirm the decision of the administration and deny the grievance appeal and the relief requested.
Okay, that's a motion. Do we have a second? Sonia seconds. All in favor? Motion passes. This appeal is concluded. Okay, at this time, the board's now going to recess and to move into closed executive session for the purposes permitted by personnel discussion and recommendations pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551.074 and discussion of purchase, sale, exchange, or value of real property pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551.072.
Go ahead.
Okay, I need a motion that we adjourn this meeting. Sonia motions, Chuck seconds. All in favor? Meeting adjourned. The time is 22:51, 10:51.
There we go. Yeah, because it was